who is a graduate in industrial psychology and is working with the Japanese company Dentsu. And so 2 young adults with dyslexia who are now well settled in their professions, their chosen professions. And the third speaker we have here today is a parent, Mrs. Anuradha Srinivasan.
Good afternoon.
Sorry?
Good afternoon. Yes, Anuradha Srinivasan.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Anuradha Srinivasan, a working parent and consultant, who is going to share with us her journey as a parent of a student with dyslexia. So let's get right down to business. I'd like to start with Yash. Could you tell us something about your early challenges? What are your memories of that era?
When I speak about early challenges, I just remember when I was struggling with my basic academics, spelling mistakes. I was not scoring well in my exam. But something in terms of challenges were the very significant was the social acceptance as a student. Also, when you were in school, people don't want to be your friends because the teachers are not going to be very supportive. Teachers are going to maybe highlight in front of other kids that, hey, will you be able to do these things? And teachers also sort of contributed to the discrimination to be happen. They'll tell, oh, you are not doing well in education, or you cannot score marks. No, you're not the nice kid. If you share what you want to become when you grow up, they're gonna demotivate bitterly. Do you think you can even do it? Making the whole class laugh and those kind of incidents, keep happening. But I was very lucky that my aunt was very open-minded and she made sure that, when this was diagnosed, she took a proactive action to make sure that she takes me for an assessment, gets me the accommodation that is required. The only reason I could work through the challenges was because of her.
It's always very, very essential to have some supportive adults in your life, certainly,
Yeah.
and when you're going through those kind of challenges. Juhi, what about you? What are you doing today?
So currently I just completed my master's in special education and inclusion. So I am now working as an SCN classroom assistant here itself in Belfast. And I'm just working with children with different disabilities, be it autism, ADHD, global developmental delay. And that's something that I've always been passionate about. And it comes from the journey that I've been through. So when I look at the challenges that I faced, it started before I was actually diagnosed back in school, where I used to keep questioning as to, despite the hard work that I've been putting in, it never reflected in my papers. And I used to always have red marks, be it for spellings, be it for grammatical errors, or even sometimes struggled with application based questions. But I think adding on to that, just like Yash said, it was also about socialization and how do I, just connect with my peers, because I wasn't too, I did not keep up with daily trends or activities because, anyways, I was so low on confidence. And then, you have to, connect with your peers and becomes very difficult at that point. And also, when at the age of 13, when I was diagnosed, which was already late diagnosis, I think your peers are very immature, and the comments that you get from them, not having supportive teachers all along, also added on to this, low self-confidence and these challenges that went through. And I think because of that, I did not even want to take up the accommodations that I was provided with, because I did not want to go out of the class and get that extra time, or I did not want to use the calculator for my examinations. So I think there were a lot of challenges, especially when it came during my school years. But it was only after that I slowly started, understanding it, and understanding that it does not only affect your academics, but it also affects your overall life, and all aspects of your life. So those were like some of the challenges that I faced.
I think it's wonderful that you've chosen to be a special education teacher and reach out and help kids who are experiencing today something of what you have in the past. So I really appreciate that,
Thank you so
Juhi.
much.
Mrs. Srinivasan, Anuradha,
Yes.
would you like to share something about your experiences as your earlier experiences as a parent?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for listening to us. Just like Yash and Juhi mentioned, when the child is struggling, when the child is low on confidence, when the child is not really doing that well in school, and whether we like it or not, schooling is a very important and a very important part of the child's personality, growing up personality. So it immediately reflects on the parent. I mean, as a parent, you can make out that the child has not had a great day at school, or for example, the child is not very keen to go for a a particular class or a test or a workshop, and there's a lot of resistance in really enjoying themselves at school. And we most parents believe that school is the ultimate elixir of happiness. You will make friends, you will enjoy yourself, teachers will be your guiding force, and you will love going to school. So these are the kind of I would say mindset that we all have grown up to. So honestly, it is completely anti to it. I mean, it's difficult to accept it. But when the child is going through learning difficulties, school is the last place that he or she would like to go. It's because it's a big, big burden for them. It's a lot many pending things, a lot many red marks, just like Yash mentioned. And you're not very comfortable with your peers, friends, teachers. So as a parent, I would say I went through a tough journey. Let me be honest about it. And but at the same time, as a parent, you want to create that kavach of happiness. You want to somehow you want to have that magic wand, and you want to make things easy for the child. You want to try and cover up, portion, syllabus, curriculum. So it's always a challenge. It's always been a challenge, right from say third standard, when we diagnosed that my daughter had learning difficulties, over managing the situation, trying to get the notes and covering it up, those kind of things. So that goes on and on. Initially, it's very hard because you're in a state of denial. You don't know many things about learning difficulties. You look forward to organizations like MDA. You look forward to special education. You look forward to special education counselors who will sit down with you and guide you and possibly help you wade through it. So the initial 3-4 years was quite difficult. It was traumatic for me also to see my child, not very happy child at school, and personality gets affected somewhere. So that's my initial challenge. And then, as you work on it, you start feeling that, okay, things are slowly, you're able to manage. As a parent, you're able to help your child. As a parent, you're able to add value. As a parent, you're able to get resources. That's a better stage, you want to be in, and then you feel better about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always important to have that parent's perspective as well. And I'd like to just add over here that Akshaya, Mrs. Srinivasan's daughter, is particularly talented in dance and music. And she's always been a very active student at our centers and at all the extracurricular activities that we organize. More about that later. Coming back to Juhi, would you like to tell us something about how do you feel today as a teacher, having overcome those same difficulties? How do you feel about yourself today? Do you feel you've achieved something and just, of course, you're just at the start of your career, but can you share something about?
So, yeah. So I think definitely I have hit certain milestones that I never thought I would. Because say 10 years ago or 12 years ago when I was actually diagnosed with it, I never thought I would reach this position that I have. Like just having completed a bachelor's, a B.Ed, and now a master's, it's been a journey of its own. But also I think now starting to work with children, and even when I work back in India and now here, I think it's so nice to see that everything that I have been through, I can actually use it and understand them better. And of course, like you said, there's so much more for me to achieve. It's just the very beginning, but it just makes me feel so happy because I think the day I finished my master's, I was like, I felt that sort of like satisfaction and joy because now the things that I used to struggle with, say, for example, just application questions, like I mentioned before as well, right? Today I feel like I can read text, critically think, analyze it, which I never thought I would be able to do. And which is something that I always used to, have negative thoughts about, like, oh, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? But now it's completely swapped and completely changed to, yes, of course I can do this. Yes, of course I can. If somebody asks me a certain question about, like something that's related to like an application based question, or even now as what should I do because this child is unable to do a certain task, right? For example, I have answers to that. I can observe and I can understand children now. And I think just the other day, I'm working with this child with global developmental delay, and the amount of observations you have to make with the child, or you have to have that amount of patience with the children. I think like every step of the way, and for every small thing, I'm so proud about being able to achieve it. And just listening to my peers be like, oh, that was a great thing that you thought about, or that was a great observation that you made, makes me feel really happy. And I think like it feels like I have come to a stage where I have accomplished things that I thought I could never. So like just putting it out there, if I can do it, anybody can. And it's just about finding that specific niche that that you enjoy doing, and not letting anybody around you be like, oh, you cannot do it, or you won't be able to do it because of XYZ reasons, because you have dyslexia specifically. But I think don't like not letting all of that come in your way is, and not letting those thoughts come to your head is one of the biggest achievements as well. So yeah, I'm really proud, if I have to be like very honest.
It's wonderful to hear you say that. And I'll say it again. I really appreciate that uh, that decision to try and help kids who have similar challenges, or maybe even greater challenges, and skilled yourself to handle all that. So that's really wonderful to hear. And it's wonderful to hear that confidence
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congrats, Juhi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Moving on to Yash. Yash, tell us something about what you're doing now and how you feel about that.
So I can share what I'm doing right now, but I'd like to also add something to which Mrs. Srinivasan and Juhi added about, how the school time is really horrible and it goes up. Like you, in general, like as a child, you grow up hearing with parents that this is the golden years of your life. You'll never get your childhood back. Okay, once you grow up, it's all difficult, taxation, all these or complicated things are there. But to be honest, I have had completely an opposite experience. The more I grow up, the more easy life is getting. Um, I don't believe like I really enjoy it as such. Like with school, as Mrs. Chandra, like I enjoy going to my work. I hated going to school, and but one thing which what I am currently doing, I would also try want to completely contribute to being dyslexic, uh, because that gave me a benefit. A lot of people say it's unfortunate, but I believe it's really fortunate that everybody called me an idiot till I was 17, 18, 19. I was like, everybody would call me an idiot. Oh, this is an idiot. He would not know. There'll be friends who are sitting next to me who think I don't know Marathi, and they'll introduce me. अरे ये मेरा दोस्त है तेला अभ्यास नाही येते तू काही पण बोलू शकतोय तेला. And I can understand, what this guy is saying, but they just assume that I would not know Marathi. Uh, so growing up for that, one thing which I got really comfortable with is being called an idiot. So technically, they just freed up the whole concept of social pressure that anybody would feel like if I do this, somebody will call me an idiot. If I do this, society, I was like, I don't have anything to lose. I can experiment with whatever I want. I can work throughout my college. I can start doing something. I can start saving money as a 13-year-old, or I can do whatever I want. I don't have anything to lose. It's a very simple thing. I became very free, and that's what allowed me to do what I have done in my career. So coming back to what you asked, like what am I currently doing? I'm currently an industrial organizational psychologist, and I started working when I was 17. Throughout my school life, I knew I'll never be able to compete with these kids who are scoring a lot of marks. And school life was another story in itself. So I realized, like, through this path, again, because I'm an idiot, I don't have anything to lose. So I was like, let's experiment. I need to acquire certain skill sets before I finish my school or college so that I have something to compete in, right? So I started working throughout my college since I was 17, which allowed me to have like great milestones, which build that confidence, because you can't just be confident by thinking you're confident. You need certain achievements under your belt. And I started getting those achievements. So I started working, I had a business card when I was 18, so it was a very fancy thing to do. One of the professors had told me to sit for a class. I was like, no, I have to go to work. I handed him the card and I left because I had a meeting which I had to go. So this was a very cool moment I had. Then by the time I was 19, I was training in Adani for their mid and senior level managers for conflict management, being an early manager. By the time I turned 21, I was training Indian special forces in threat assessment, counterterrorism units, those kind of lot of intelligence work. And then, these events and the success I kept getting in my career really added to it. And even the career got set up because I always focus on, if I'm dyslexic, what is a competitive advantage I have. So I realized that I can pick up behavioral patterns. I can pick up, loops that people are stuck in, the behavioral mindsets which creates those issues, right? So that's what I got really interested in. That's what I do in my career, and that's what I'm currently also doing. So in my current organization, I work in learning and organizational development, where when a company is merging, how do you take somebody's mindset who's a big fish in a small pond going to a bigger organization? How do you make them not feel any change? Because you can see patterns which happen. If you go for a training, if the training is, they are saying that we want to do an X training, but when you speak with the people, you can understand something is different. So, and then in my current organization, I've always made sure that I communicate I'm dyslexic. So I also work in a lot of neurodiversity hiring projects. I also try to make sure that, any kind of neurodiversity hiring dyslexic folks, I try to champion it, and I try to be very vocal because that's how the awareness happens. So if, like, to summarize the whole thing, because I was dyslexic, certain amount of resistance was there, which made me want to overcome it. So that's how I have been in this journey, and anything I'm doing, I believe it's that one differentiating factor that has allowed me to work with dyslexic folks with more behavioral training, more learning and training, these kind of folks that I'm currently doing.
That's amazing to hear. I'm always quite fascinated when I talk to you about your work, and I'm sure our listeners are too. Just by the way, if you have questions for any of our speakers, please jot them down, and we will open this up for questions later on. This is Srinivasan.
Yes.
Would you like to talk to us a little bit about where you are now and with Akshaya?
Yes.
Akshaya.
Yes. See, once we realize that our child has dyslexia, and her confidence is low, then I consciously started going to the counselor and special education counselor and also the MDA counselor. And as a parent, I used to ask them that what are the things that I can do as a parent to help them gain confidence. Like Yash said, confidence is not something that you can just buy off the shelf. There are certain activities that you would need to do to help the child face life, do everyday actions, so on and so forth. So I started getting good tips from my counselor, saying that look for trends where the child, he or she, is passionate about. If certain subjects don't come naturally, then don't force it beyond a point, because that again makes the child feel weak and vulnerable. So on and so forth. At the same time, encourage other hobbies and interests. Education is only one aspect. Travel, you make them read, show them movies, show them interesting movies, try to make them colorful, life colorful. That is very important for us to make the child feel that there is so much more in life apart from just your maths and science and dictation and whatever. So once I started, we as a family, we just reduce the pressure on ourselves, the anxiety and the fear. Then automatically, what we passed on to the child was also a little more easy pace of life, a little bit, comfortable breathing and comfortable living. And then we realized that the child had so many other small little happy things that we could enjoy, which we forget in the larger interest of just passing and clearing. So once we started doing that, and then navigate your syllabus, like if the child is not able to go through ICSE, there are other options. You can try CBSE, you can try IB, you can try open schooling. So the mind opens up and you start looking at things from the child's perspective rather than from your perspective or society perspective. So these things definitely help in our case. And we could see that Akshaya was a very, very happy and a playful child when it came to, learning dance or learning music, or even in performances. There was a bit of hesitancy given the low confidence, but some quick wins here and there, a quick appreciation, and she started enjoying those performances. And those started adding joy to her, and directly or indirectly started adding joy to our life. So today I'm happy to say that she has completed her 12th. May not be in the traditional way, but in the most optimal way that suited her. And she's living on her own. She has acquired the life skills required to manage her own home, manage a new country, and to also go through the syllabus of performing arts. So what is more important is that the child should be able to face life and should be able to pursue a course that he or she can continue for the next 10 years, 15 years. So that way we are proud of her and proud of all the right. And I did seek out a lot of guidance from a lot of different teachers and counselors who were aware of dyslexia. And that's how you will have to make your own path, what is more suitable for your child.
Akshaya, incidentally, is studying dance at an institute, a well-regarded institute in Singapore. Just to fill you in on
Yes.
the current status with her.
Yes.
So how does dyslexia impact your day-to-day life? All of you. I think I'll start with Yash first.
Okay. How does dyslexia impact? I believe apart from in my particular organization now, I believe dyslexia firstly allows me to more stand out. That any kind of new initiatives, firstly they're doing that, I get more extra opportunities, you can say, because I'm dyslexic for those kind of events, which I believe I don't think anybody would have gotten if they would have not said out loud that I'm dyslexic or these kind of things. But in terms of impact, I've already said how it has sort of positively impacted. But when I talk about impact now, I'll just talk about the current role I'm doing and how that has transitioned in the last 2 years. So when I started working, before that, I used to work in a very boutique, small firm where I could just talk to people to get things done. Now I work in a very large scale corporate. And for there, I have to send a lot of emails. And moving from that and sending these emails, when I joined, it was just like a big struggle. There was one of my friend, I used to text her, hey, I want to send this mail. So she would type it on WhatsApp. She would send me on WhatsApp. Then I'm going to take that WhatsApp message, paste it on Teams, for the Microsoft Teams on my phone. And then if I paste it on phone, I can see it in my office laptop. Then I'm going to copy it from there. Then I'm going to paste it on Outlook. and I'm going to send that email. And that became a massive challenge. So, but over a period of time, the new technology, the generative AI, Copilot, and these kind of things which are coming in are significantly reducing the challenges any dyslexic face. So now I don't have to depend on anybody for almost anything. I can just click on the corner of my laptop. There's a Copilot icon. I click on it. It gives me an option for a mic. I click on the mic and I just tell it whatever I want to do. Now I only have to think, how does my receiver wants to receive the message? What is an easier manner they will understand it? How should I structure? Which I believe as a dyslexic you have inherent advantage to do, right? You think from their perspective, what would they want to know from a bigger picture perspective? And I structure those email. I just keep talking to the Copilot. It does it for me, and then I copy it, make the finer changes of words and spellings, and it does the job. Now, the Copilot has like these AI tools have completely taken away the entry barrier any dyslexic had in any job roles. Which used to be, until you're in the lower level of the corporates, you struggle because you have to do a lot of grunt work. After that, you reach a strategic role. I believe that has completely been cleared with these tools. You don't have to struggle. There is no problem as such you'll face. Now, there are only key three areas which I currently struggle is whenever I'm in a meeting to take down notes in those meetings. Technology is not caught up yet, probably one more year. And this change, which I've told you within the span of only 2 years, how I started and what I'm doing now. And I believe one more year, probably I won't need to also take down notes. The transcript tools and voice to text tools are going to become even better. The another thing which I struggle is maintaining an action tracker, organizing the list of things which I want to do. Because once I know what I want to do, putting that in that Excel sheet takes up a lot of time. That is where I end up struggling. And and if there is an Excel, lot of data work, consolidating a lot of employee data and those kind of things, that is the area. But when you look at it, these are also small technical roles, right? To one or two more here with an AI tool, these also get removed. And I believe with the coming trend of how the work is going to happen, all these mundane, monotonous work which anybody has to do will be done. They will become like an Excel spreadsheet. AI is not going to take over. It is going to become a great assistant for you. Like how in a lot of other countries, you get an assistant who will help you with these tasks. Now an AI can do it for you. So now there's only advantage to being a dyslexic because those key strategic roles, the people who can think from a bigger picture are the only people who are going to be required, who can guide an AI in a direction. So when AI can do the grunt work. So I believe the impacts I'm currently also having are very minute. 1 or 2 years, they are not going to be even a problem. And like I have my phone, it got this AI tool. All of us know that Samsung phones have new AI, right? I can text people. I just click on the mic, I say it, it converts it, and I can text. I can respond to people much better. People in my college, they knew how I type. If I type from somebody else's phone, they'll know this is yes. Now nobody can figure out because I can just do that process smoothly. So I don't believe there is in next 2.5 years. I don't believe there'll be any impact. There'll be any extra work-related accommodation. I believe schools and colleges have to catch up, but other than that, I don't believe in my current life there is a significant problem. You can say, right? These AI tools do the work that you struggle with.
This is really wonderful to hear. We are always pushing our kids to become tech savvy and use the current technology that digitization offers in their work. Of course, as you say, schools and colleges need to catch up, but I still feel that everybody and students with any kind of educational challenges, particularly, need to learn to use technology to their advantage. Having said that, I have to admit that I myself have not really mastered these skills. So maybe we'll have you over at MBA to give us a demo. Juhi, what about you? How does being dyslexic impact your work and your daily life?
Yeah. So I think it has in today's time, I think it has both a negative and a positive, impact. But I think the struggles as compared to the school to now has changed a lot, right? Because when you're in school, you are supposed to perform specific academic tasks because rote learning still exists. But then as you grow older and now in a more practical, when you're working practically, it's the different set of challenges that come about. And I think because I am, like I said, I am working with children with different disabilities, the challenges that I've been through help me actually to put and to help those children, because there is a sense of empathy and sensitization that is inbuilt into me. And I think that is a positive, the positive side of dyslexia today. And it's not only with children, but it's across, say, with my friends, family, and any stranger that I meet. But at the same time, the negative would be, or the challenge that I still face would be socialization. Like, I don't think I am somebody who will go out there and have a conversation with a stranger, or just with anybody. So even when I was in my masters, it took me a lot of time to actually open up, to talk to people, from different, say, from different cultures, from different backgrounds, different age groups. And it took me a while. I think only by the end of the year one did I actually start communicating and having conversations with them. So I think socialization is still something that I struggle with. Um, but I think other than that, like Yash said, it's because so many AI tools that have come about that actually help aid us. So it's not something something that we can use to our advantage, like to help us reach that, when we talk about equity, right? So even when you're in school, the accommodations do not pose an advantage, but actually just help you reach that equity, which is just be at the level of everybody else. And I remember back in school when when I didn't want to take accommodations, my principal always said that we all use calculators. We all use, in the next 10 years, there are going to be so many AI tools that come up that you all will all be using. So I think just like it is of great advantage. But I think socialization will continue, at least of what I look at, will continue to be one of the places where I feel like, it will still be a challenge for me, but hoping in the next 10 years, it gets better.
Thank you for that very frank uh,
Yeah.
discussion that you, this that you, this, yes, I think social skills, and not just social skills, but the social situation for
Yeah.
a lot of people with all kinds of challenges because of the early experiences, because of early maybe rejection, or
Yes.
the early frustrations of not fitting in. It
Correct.
does
Yeah.
impact relationships later on. And so thank you for bringing that up and discussing it so well.
If I could add something to
Yeah,
this,
go ahead.
how Joey said, for the longest time, when I was doing my graduation and while I was working, obviously I had a very different personality for my work related roles. And, as a professional, I believe then it created multiple hats in my head that, for every role I behave completely like a different person. But for the longest time, even I struggled with people just being nice. Oh, somebody would accommodate me, somebody would help me. And I was like, why? And I felt I had extra obligation because they did a very minor thing for me. And now, gradually, again, that I'm gradually getting comfortable with. Uh, but that is one thing which is a social thing that like everybody completely isolated you until you're 17, 18. Nobody wanted to be a friend, like little zero. And then suddenly, when people interact with you, you can't catch up with it. Like, why? Just
Yeah.
question is running in your head, like, why are they so nice? Why do they not think that my marks matter? And those kind of,
And I think that's so
Nice.
true, because back when you're in school and say you're at that age, everybody's so immature and like just trying to figure out things. And then I think as you grow up, you're just sensitized to all of this and you're reading up more as an individual. So I think that's when people actually are okay with the fact, like, even if you tell them, oh, I have dyslexia, or, I might, like, even at the workplace, oh, I have dyslexia and might face certain challenges, they're very open to it, because I feel like there's so much awareness that is building through the years, and also as an individual, you're maturing. So I think,
Yes.
and that becomes like a complex, like, transition for us as individuals to go through.
Yes, and also I think as you grow up and find yourself a niche where you're more
Correct.
comfortable, where your skills, where you feel competent, where you
Yes.
feel you have the skills to really deliver, that gives you a kind of confidence which you never really experienced before. So maybe that's also
Yeah, definitely.
I've seen that in so many uh, uh, kids who have been through our centers and have come back later and said, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. I'm a chef now. I'm whatever. And you can see that just having found that niche and being able to feeling that competence has given them so much confidence. Mrs. Srinivasan, how now that uh, Akshaya is on her own and completely independent, how do you feel about your role as a parent? What's your what are the challenges that you face? Because I know that just getting our kids out of school and into some kind of career path is not the only not the end of the story, right?
Yeah. It's a great sense of relief and happiness, of course, to see your child blossom or, flutter their wings and explore. So, like I would say, it's important that in the initial part, we as parents help them by giving them all the ammunition. That I think is the most important part, because later the child will be on their own, in whichever field. We cannot keep parenting them beyond a point. So, in some sense, I'm very grateful and I'm very happy that I've met the right kind of counselors. The remedial treatment that we took from MDA for a couple of years, going through all that, has helped her identity, her sense of identity shape up. She is able to deal with her own emotions, and she is able to, question herself. She is able to stand up for herself.
Yeah.
So I'm I feel very strongly that as a parent, in the initial stages, we need to be with the child. In the in the junior and secondary, and when you're passing their 10th and 12th, and when everything seems so tough and overwhelming, and everyone outside is talking about STEM and political science and English literature, and the child may be feeling that, mom, I'm not even able to pass with basic, so that's when you need to be there and make different options, find out, talk to people, get different vocational skill courses or diploma courses, be there, create a confidence nurturing system at home. That is important. Once, of course, I felt that Akshaya was giving her entrance exam at 12th, and she got into few, she didn't get into few, but that was the stage where it is the result of all our efforts of so many years. So definitely I was very, as a parent, I was very happy and I was very excited that she was able to attend interviews on her own. She was able to talk for herself. And fortunately, some of the panels that they take interview nowadays, you can mark clearly that you are dyslexic, you have learning disabilities. So, people do consider that, and they ask you accordingly. My only fear I had was, how will she manage everything in a new country? Because everything is new. The syllabus is new, the students, the language, the local Chinese, Singaporeans, and she has to manage her house and everything. So it was a bit overwhelming. Of course, I did not share with her. I said it's not very far, so if required, I can always go and stay with her. But I didn't want that to happen. So slowly and steadily, things fell into place. I think some of the fears are more compounded as a parent. The children are smart. Look at yourself. I mean, look at Juhi and look at Yash. The kind of discussions they are having is amazing. So, I mean, the child, they do manage. Initially, she did mention Akshaya did mention that, some of the instructions she's having a little difficulty in understanding and she's kind of zoning out. But she said that, Amma, thanks to my remedial classes, I know I can tell the teacher that I need a tap on my, back. I need a tap on my shoulder. And she would go and tell the teacher that, ma'am, I'm zoned out or I'm not picking up the instructions. So she knew the problem. She also knew the solution. So that really helped. So that really helped. And only she can help herself then. So I just used to tell her that, Akshaya, go and discuss with the teacher one-on-one. That's the best we can say, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, she has to participate in the class. She has to feel comfortable. Fortunately, things were much easier at the college level. And I think some amount of awareness is definitely there in a music school, dance school, because there is an acceptance that dyslexic children are slightly more talented on the areas of music, dance, photography, painting, these creative skills. So teachers also do have that consideration. So it fell in place. There are times when she says, Amma, I think I'm a bit lazy. I have to submit it. I know I already taken a little extra time. So I said, see, you have the problem. You have your own answer. So I think as they grow, they learn to manage the issues.
Yeah.
Initially, we have to manage the issues for them. Later on, I think now she's 20 and now I am quite confident. I really don't bother about her much, on a daily basis. Yeah.
That's great to hear. You did mention just now about extra time and some accommodations. I'd like to circle back to that. Yash, you had also mentioned something about your work with promoting inclusion in the workplace. Could you tell us something about that and how your own experiences have helped here?
So, accommodations is a very tricky thing, I believe, because any benefit, any growth, any mindsets that I have developed throughout my experience was because there were a perfect blend of some accommodations and some things are missing. You have to figure out, and I believe uh, just a little bit of support, you build a lot of resilience to do it. If the child is extremely accommodated, it becomes a very difficult for the child to adjust later on. And something which I have sort of gone by in terms of, and this is what I also spoken to somebody I was speaking to recently. They're talking about, how will people accommodate you in our workplace, or how will people accommodate these neurodiverse individuals if we hire them, and these kind of things. So a very simple thumb rule I have gone by is if I cannot add a tangible value to your life, right? Where you can say it out loud in a sentence, you can write down in a sentence, hey, we have added this value. If it's not as tangible as that, I don't expect anybody to accommodate me. And I believe it needs to be in that manner, because just because you're dyslexic does not mean, oh, we should give you a very nice cushiony bed, you sleep, you can rest, whatever. It should not be like that. You also need to take that proactive action at what value am I bringing to the table? What am I doing? I am dyslexic. That is completely fine. We struggle with certain things, but then there are certain things you have a competitive advantage of. Are you using it? So I believe even from if there are any children living with their parents, I believe the most important thing is creating that good value system that you will get your accommodation, but your results are based on you, you're not entitled to the accommodation that people should change their life. Because currently the neurodiverse initiatives which an organization also runs, at the end of the day, money runs things. If you are able to make the organization profitable, if you are able to make them more efficient, they will spend that extra effort, extra budget to do that. There is certain ROI that you need to have, some value need to add. And I don't believe, like, for example, and the value can be very diverse, right? How Juhi is contributing to for kids who are also suffering. Mrs. Srinivasan's daughter is dancing, and it adds certain entertainment value. Like, people will want to support this person. Hey, this person is really good at dance and other art creative work. And similarly for me, right, if I have worked with somebody, there is a competitive advantage which I need to give. And as a dyslexic, I believe you need to figure out what you are what is the one thing that you're great at develop the skills around it, and use the accommodations to be more competitive. I don't believe that you should just sit. I will be given my accommodations, then only I will do it. It's unfair that I'm not getting accommodated. I believe you have the best gift of being more creative. You can work around lot of things. I believe school structures are a little rigid, but any flexible structure as a dyslexic, you get into any flexibility you have, you can work around the accommodations. So it's a very value system which the parent needs to add, that the child tell them that you can add certain value, give them that confidence that they focus on adding that value. And I have not really met any person whose life I added value and did not wanted to accommodate me. Maximum people will take an extra mile to accommodate if you can add some value to their lives. So I don't believe it's very difficult for people to adjust or give you accommodation. I believe it's if you look like somebody who wants to add their value, who takes an initiative, I think that's good enough. And people do you a lot of even my organization, my VP, who's like 5, 6, 7 level above me. When we are in a meeting, sometimes he only ends up writing notes because I've given him a very creative model which he has never seen before. But then I cannot write down the notes in the meeting. So sometimes he only you don't waste time. I'll just type it and send you on that. And he just sends me that. I have not seen him accommodate that, but then because you need to show that value. So no matter where people sit, they will give you those accommodations, they will adjust because they see that extra effort you take and people value effort. No matter what kind of industry, no matter where you are at. Again, I might be biased with schools, like a lot of teachers don't value it particularly, but anywhere other than a school, I have seen people value effort.
Yeah. That's reassuring to hear. I think what I hear you say is that if you pull your weight with the rest of the team will definitely reach out and help you where you are
Absolutely.
falling short.
Before these co-pilots, my manager had told my team, and my team members used to get on a call with me to check my emails. They did not have to do it. They had their own set of work as well.
Yes.
But because I used to help them with the more creative stuff, they used to make sure that they take that accommodation. So you need to add that one value to somebody else's life.
I think you've given us a really wonderful explanation of accommodation in the workplace. Thank you for that. And Juhi, what do you think the workplace is more accommodating to neurodiversity and all kinds of other diversity as well? In your experience?
Yeah, I think most definitely because I remember like I worked a year back in India as well. And it was one of the first interviews that I gave for a job role. And I wasn't too sure, specifically because I was applying for the job of a special educator. I was like, I wasn't too sure about the fact that should my first statement be, I have dyslexia, but etc. etc. So I was very scared and skeptical about the fact that should I be even mentioning that because I don't know how they will take it because the role that I am looking for is and I am applying for is where I am going to help children with dyslexia and other disabilities. So are they going to look at it from the point of view that oh I myself face challenges, will I be able to help others? And I think it completely changed because I did put it out there and I got that job. So I think they are very accommodating. And even when I was working there, every time, like Yash said, right? So if you are putting in efforts despite the accommodations that are given to you, even at the school level or even otherwise, I think it's a give and take, right? So if I have certain strengths and I'm going to help my team members with the strengths I have, they are going to help accommodate certain things that I find challenging. So I think that always and I think that's building up because the awareness, like I said, is like so much like is building, right? Even just very simply, I think MDA also has a lot of like teacher training courses or just awareness where they go to schools and like create awareness and trainings like that. And I think that completely has changed the phase of not only awareness at the school and sensitization at the school level, but also just at workplaces as a whole. And I think even here, while I'm working now for the last year or so in like different school settings and nursery settings, it's the same. They do not, make a big deal about the fact that I have dyslexia. It's just that, oh, like, these are my skill sets and I can help them out with, using my strengths. So I think it is becoming very, very accommodating, and people are not bothered with the fact that what your grades are, what your if what your challenges are, but just emphasizing on your strengths. And I think that's so important for you as an individual also. The first 80% is to just accept your dyslexia, and then the next 20% is to actually find your skill set. And I think that just helps develop your confidence and finding that niche to be able to give that back to society.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to hear from the two of you and from Anuradha about.
I would like to add only one sentence to what
Yes, bolo,
Julie said. Julie said about the marks and grades not being important. If I could share, in my current organization, when I joined, I just gave them that I have done my graduation. Nobody asked me for my marks. And the people who work one level below me are MBA graduates and everything. So even a lot of employees do not focus on, having like, oh, you have to have a fancy degree with fancy. Obviously, there are certain very high scale, like, McKinsey and these kind of organizations require those premium prestigious universities that you're coming from. But for the maximum of the organizations, they focus on the fact that, do you bring something to the table? And what she said, right? Throughout my career, nobody has asked me my marks. Nobody has asked me, oh, you have a graduation now. You're good enough for us. So you have done your master's, good enough, right? So they just want a checklist. So you don't have to focus so much on the marks part. Just focus what you can absorb and add value with.
Yeah. Very valuable message. I think we're coming to the end of our allotted time. Very quickly, if there are questions from our listeners and participants here, are there any questions on the others, or is there anybody who would like to ask?
No questions, but we have some appreciation. Yes, comments.
Masrat, if you could share those.
Yes,
please.
so Ramiza Khan says, congratulations, Juhi, Yash, and Mrs. Srinivasan on sharing your remarkable journeys. Your resilience and achievements are truly admirable. Wishing Juhi, Akshaya, and Yash all the very best in life. She also said, I think Yash had shared something, so she said this was superb sharing, Yash. Dia says, wonderful to hear from Juhi, Yash, and Anuradha. Yash, have you tried speech to text? Is what she has asked you, or apps like OneNote for taking notes. So this is a question from Dia to you, Yash.
I have tried those, but what I usually end up struggling with is if I'm using speech to text in a meeting, I cannot use it while I'm talking to somebody else, because if I start saying, they will not be able to say what they're saying. And OneNote also does. So usually what I do is I just, after the meeting, whatever I remember, again use Copilot, click on the mic, whatever the points I remember till now, again, accuracy is still low because I'm good with speech to text tools, but in a meeting while somebody else is saying something, I can't really talk to take down notes. And that is what becomes the struggle. Like if somebody is just, the transcripts become better, they'll be able to, create better content, I believe, and better notes. I've tried these tools, not something which is very foolproof, I can say.
Thank you, Yash. Juhi, I think something that you had, mentioned. So Ramiza has commented very positive perspective, Juhi.
Thank you so
Padma
much.
Sirohi, excellent to see the kids excel. Sudiksha Sirohi, all the best, Yash. Padma Sirohi suggests kindly try to share this superb gift of being dyslexic to as many as possible. Sanaya Balsara, it was a lovely, enlightening talk. As an educator with kindergarten kids, I constantly face a challenge of having kids with certain issues, but I would rather be remembered with fondness and not label any child. Okay, Dia has a question for you. Again, Yash, I think this is your workplace. Are you allowed to record?
Uh,
I
some
think
calls you can record, some calls you cannot record. So it's very dependent on, what kind of stakeholder it is. If it's somebody very senior, they usually don't. I'm not very comfortable recording because some conversation will get too candid and recordings are not something which works. So usually transcribe is what we go with. So we just start transcribe on something.
I think Kabir would like to say something. I saw something on the chat. Kabir Bhogila.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you to the three panelists for having an interesting discussion. Being dyslexic myself, it's always good to hear other people's views as well. I just would like to, I don't think it's more of a statement than a question, but I think when you both spoke about self-confidence and confidence, I just have a little thing saying that even when I was growing up, there was a big issue with confidence, but I believe it was the environment who killed our self confidence. It is not us, because I believe that every child has the confidence. It just needs to be given the chance to come out. So I think that Yash and Juhi, I mean, you are powerhouses in yourself. So keep going and keep on looking forward and looking upwards. And as every person and who's dyslexic, I always say it's proud to be dyslexic, and we are. So thank you, both of you, and carry on, and just always make yourself proud, because at the end of the day, it's about you. It's not about the rest of them. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kabir.
Thank you. Okay, Nafiza says this was a really interesting session. One question to everyone. If you had to give your younger self one advice, what would that be?
Juhi, quickly.
I think not to take in the negative comments and things that people say around you, because just like everybody else, you will and you can achieve whatever you dream of.
And Yash?
If I had to give one advice, it would be something which I have also done in no matter what interviews I've given or what kind of aspect I approach my life with, because I got very worried about what the other people are going to do. And then when I completely stopped worrying about it, uh, I discovered something which was really helpful for me was the fact that when I showed up as purely myself and I did not worry whether somebody will think that I'm dyslexic, so they will not give me a job. If somebody, those kind of things, right? So I always try to show up a lot of places where it would sound very stupid to say that I'm dyslexic, or I might struggle with these things, or I might might be difficult to write mails very faster. These things are very, which and outwardly which will just put you on the back foot. But then one thing which I've learned is just show up as yourself, and if you only show up as yourself, the right people will show up for you. If you show up as somebody else, the right people for that somebody else will show up. So until you are being yourself, because that's what allowed me to have work with the people I'm working with, who has been really helpful and who has been really accommodating. So until you don't meet yourself and show up as yourself, it does not work. And always thought that maybe because I was very alone till 18, I that was one thing. But if I would go back and tell that to my younger self, hey, being alone gave you a more understanding of your own emotions, which I believe that what allowed me to have more emotional control over myself, understand myself, because when you don't have anybody, you meet yourself, right? So that has been, so anytime these two things, I don't believe it's one advice, but these two things, to show up as yourself and meet yourself, are the two things which has become really, really important. If I could tell my maybe a 11 or 12-year-old self, he would be much ahead of me. But yeah.
And we're already over time, but very quickly, Anuradha, if you would have any advice for parents.
Basically, anxiety. I think as a parent, the fear of unknown, the fear of anxiety, it always keeps running into you, because things are uncertain, things are new, things are not normal. So I think I would say to my younger self, calm down a bit more. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to have a few, failures and bumps, but it's good to be having supportive counselors around you so that you can discuss with them rather than bringing that anxiety back home.
Yeah.
So, where things probably can go wrong. You know that things are not going to be easy. So a little bit of preparation, a little bit of lesser anxiety on the self, then it reflects a little calmer on the household, on the family, and on the child, basically. And as a parent, I think it's our duty that we don't pass on unnecessary stress to the child. The child is already coping with something, a new animal. It's already coping with something of the fear of unknown for himself or herself. So I think the least we can do is lessen the stress and lessen the pressure on the child. So I would suggest to every parent out here, go out, take help, speak to other dyslexic parents. Best is a counselor who is in special education or an MDA organization like yours. Then, half your attention will be in that session. So that, you can make it life a little bit easier for your child.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you to a very big thank you to Juhi, Yash, and Anuradha for being here today, sharing so candidly their journey, their challenges, and yes, the triumphs too. May you go from strength to strength.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having us.
A big thank you to our participants as well. I think we have a very good showing this today for this discussion, even though it's a Sunday afternoon. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Kate, for the opportunity. I remember after 10th, I came for an MDA session where I had seen Kabir. I'm like, oh, somebody dyslexic doing something where I hope some other dyslexic child had that epiphany that I had today. That, hey, somebody else is doing decently, so I can also. And I believe that I feel like if I wish it would be great if anybody in anybody's life I could make that impact. And thank you so much for giving that opportunity to give
you're
that
a role
back
model
to
for
somebody.
many people, many kids. Thank you for being
So
here.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, all of you, for sharing.